Hi, and welcome to the Cardinal Brief, a quarterly series where we bring you up to speed on the major news stories from the Stanford Daily this quarter. I'm George Porteous, a news managing editor for the Daily, and here are the headlines you need to know. As the Trump administration escalated its policies targeting higher education, particularly at Harvard, Stanford has mostly evaded the government's attention. That said, University President Jonathan Levin and Provost Jerry Martinez voiced support for Harvard in April after its president, Alan Garber, vowed to resist demands from the Trump administration, which included federal audits for, quote, viewpoint diversity. Levin and Martinez wrote that Harvard's objections were, quote, rooted in the American tradition of liberty, a tradition essential to our country's universities and worth defending. Yet, Levin has also been careful not to overtly criticize the Trump administration. He notably refrained from signing a letter by the American Association of Colleges and Universities, which over 180 college presidents signed onto, condemning, quote, government overreach and political interference. Several open letters signed by thousands of Stanford community members also called on Levin to issue a broader statement criticizing the Trump administration. In response, Levin has said he dislikes group letters and pointed to the legal action that Stanford has joined with other universities to halt research funding cuts, for example. The national conversation about higher education took on a more personal dimension when federal officials began to revoke the visas of international students across the country, targeting pro-Palestine student activists in particular. At Stanford, 6 current international students and 2 recently graduated students lost their visas in April, though the government restored 7 of the visas by the end of the month in an apparent reversal. Congress also requested that 6 universities, including Stanford, release detailed information about Chinese international students, writing that their involvement in STEM programs posed, quote, national security risks. Most recently, the State Department has said it would aggressively revoke the visas of Chinese students. Campus anxieties about immigration enforcement were evident in April when rumors rapidly spread throughout the Stanford community about the possible presence of ICE agents on campus. Although the rumors were unsubstantiated, they revealed growing concern for the safety of immigrant students. The most stunning escalation came when the Trump administration halted Harvard's ability to enroll international students and banned them from entering the country, potentially forcing international students to transfer or leave the school. Faculty who spoke to the Daily said they were concerned the government could take a similar action against Stanford's international students, who currently make up 24% of the total student body. Government officials have also signaled in public statements that their scrutiny could be shifting to the West Coast. Meanwhile, Trump's One Big Beautiful Spending Bill has been making its way through Congress, including a progressive endowment tax on private colleges and universities. If it becomes law, the bill would impose a 21% endowment tax on Stanford, potentially reducing financial aid and research funding. The deans of Stanford's various schools have already been directed to model potential budget cuts of 10 to 15%. In response to the Trump administration's actions, campus groups like the American Association of University Professors, as well as Education and Democracy United, have held rallies in White Plaza to support academic research and international students. Pro-Palestine activists have also mounted a campaign to drop felony charges against 12 protesters from last June. The Santa Clara County District Attorney's Office charged the protesters with breaking into the university president's office, barricading themselves inside, and vandalizing Main Quad with inflammatory messages. Last month, more than 20 students and faculty also undertook a hunger strike, aiming to call attention to the risk of famine in Gaza. The strikers have called for the felony charges to be dropped, demanded that Stanford divest from the State of Israel, and opposed the new free expression guidelines that Stanford unveiled at the start of the year. University leaders have repeatedly declined to meet with the strikers about their demands. This year's housing process was also marked by disputes between students and administrators. The university informed the co-op Synergy and Terra that both houses would lose their co-op status due to low enrollment. The change drew controversy, with current residents of Synergy and Terra launching a petition and campaign for the houses to remain co-ops. Their efforts proved somewhat successful when the Co-op Council reached an agreement with Stanford to keep Synergy and Terra as hybrid co-ops for the next school year, with the university providing cleaning services and charging residents the regular housing rate. Residents in both houses hope to regain full co-op status next year. The Stanford chapter of the Tirado sorority also lost their campus residents after failing to meet minimum occupancy requirements, though they'll be able to reapply for housing next year. Spring was also Stanford's admissions season. The incoming class of 2029, who arrived on campus for Admitted Students Weekend, will be the largest in Stanford's history, with 150 more students than last year. Due to this increase, Stanford has expanded housing for undergraduate students, changing 2 dorms from upper-class housing to 4-class residences. In student government news, elections for the Associated Students of Stanford University, or ASSU, descended into a string of back-and-forth allegations, after a vice presidential candidate withdrew from the race, citing differences with his running mate. Accusations of election fraud led to the resignation of the elections commissioner and a co-chair of the undergraduate senate. Incoming members of the undergraduate senate say they hope to restore community trust in student government following this year's turbulence. Finally, the band Coldplay performed a 2-night sold-out run at Stanford Stadium, marking the end of the quarter. Though the stadium has hosted the Super Bowl and matches in the Olympics and World Cup, it had never hosted a concert before. The electric performance to a 50,000-person crowd lit up the sky with fireworks, rounding out another eventful year at Stanford. I'm George Porteous with the Stanford Daily, and this has been the Cardinal Brief.